Good day, ladies and gentlemen. I welcome you all this afternoon. Our presenter for today is Linda Khumalo. Linda is a Wits University graduate and a digital technology industry activist with 26 years in the digital technology industry and with experience in different parts of the industry, covering infrastructure, policy formulation, regulatory, sales and marketing, operation, and many other aspects. He has also been academically involved in the digital technology with 4 books published. Linda established Safe Cyber Life, a company that specializes in cybersecurity, covering legislation, infrastructure, organization, capacity building, and collaboration towards cybersecurity, with the main aim of product on capacity building. Linda is also the director in the South African Digital Content Organization. I welcome you, Linda.
Thank you very much.
Now, next online, we have Zazini Molo. She's a client lead from Speakers Firm. Zazi, welcome, and now is your turn.
Thank you so much for the opportunity and the introduction, Theodora. This collaboration and the partnership between the Speakers Firm and the University of Johannesburg has proven to be a phenomenal one. We've had fantastic conversations and digital conversations throughout the weeks, and we've seen engagement from different stakeholders that have been part of this, that they've appreciated and they've loved the conversations, and would love for us to be able to bring more conversations on this platform. This has been quite a great and an amazing and a beautiful opportunity for both the Speakers Firm and as well as for our speakers to be able to be part of this platform. We are a talent management and as well as events and communications company. We manage speakers with different backgrounds, keynote speakers, your MCs for each and every event that anyone may want to be able to be hosting. So this for us has been quite a phenomenal one, and we're quite happy and glad to be part of this.
Thank you, Linda. It's your turn now. Take over.
Thank you. I think I'm going to do the screen share so that we can go straight to the presentation given the time that I have. So the topic is preparing yourself for the 4th Industrial Revolution, and I think more than anything, you will see what we're depicting about 4th Industrial Revolution between us and the machines, where people are saying machines are going to take over. But I'm going to talk a little bit about what that means during the presentation. Basically, our thinking is that if you look at the 4th Industrial Revolution, you should maybe remember the words of Victor Hugo, where he says there's nothing as powerful as an idea whose time has come. And I'll say 4IR is already here. It has already started. In fact, the way we're engaging today is actually a sign on things to come around 4IR. And what I wanted to do is to start by maybe engaging about, before we talk about what 4IR is, maybe let's talk about its foundation, because when you understand the foundation of the 4th Industrial Revolution, it becomes easier to deal with the 4th Industrial Revolution itself. I'm sure you've seen this sign. If you look at your wallet, you will see this sign. If you look at your bank card, you will see this sign. You look at every other thing that you actually deal with, you will see this sign. This sign, it's saying whatever gadget or item that has this sign, that item is connected to the internet. So as an example, your bank card is already participating in the Internet of Things. Your bank card, it has this sign, and by the way, many people are tapping, especially now that we're talking about social distancing, not wanting to put in the PIN code on the bank. You are now using this Internet of Things capability for you to interact with the bank. But what does this really mean? It means that your wallet, by the way, it's supposed to have the protection that is called the RFID protection, to protect your card not to have unauthorized interaction with your with your finances. When they released these new cards, in my view, they were supposed to announce that every one of those cards must be put in the proper wallet. Not many people are putting cards in the proper wallet. So you need to check your wallet and make sure that your wallet has got that RFID protection. In other words, protecting your Internet of Things capability that is already taking place to be used in an unauthorized manner. I actually had a long video that I wanted to put in, but I think the video was just going to take too much time. So what I think I'll do is just to give you that warning, because today, maybe to explain that the cyber criminals out there are going around with gadgets that are as small as the size of a book that they can tap on your purse, your bag, your everything. So if you do not have this wallet that is protecting you, you're actually living a very dangerous life from the cybersecurity point of view. So I really encourage people to use the proper wallet. So this is just an indication to show you that the fourth industrial revolution has started, and we're going to see more and more of the wireless kind of interactions that are using the Internet of Things. Now, maybe understanding that the connectivity is the foundation. So this foundation is actually putting us into the internet. But what is this internet? The internet has got three different levels, or the three webs, so we call them that. The first layer is called the surface web. The surface web contains about less than 10%. In fact, the estimate is around, say, 5-7% of the internet content is sitting on the surface web. What is this? This is your Google, your generally accessed websites where you do not have high security in some of them, and in some of them you do not even need your username and passwords to access those websites. These are sitting on the surface web. And as you can see with the depiction of this picture, is actually the tip of the iceberg. The main part of the iceberg is made up of the two elements. We call them the deep web and the dark web. The deep web is where you find things such as the financial information. The universities, as an example, would use the deep web where people have to use their username and password. There's a security on the deep web, and the difference between the deep web and the surface web is that on the surface web, the location of those websites are put in an index. So in other words, you can go to World Wide Web and find those websites. The deep web and the dark web, not all of them are indexed. You cannot find them by searching them. A lot of these deep web locations are held in secret locations that you need to have the information of knowing what is sitting in the deep web. And here the security is a bit higher. But on the deep web, you find a lot of legal conversations and legal information that is put in. Then you have the next level of the internet. It's called the dark web. Now, this is the part where people participate using, shall I say, pseudonyms, and anonymity is the order of the day in dark web, and people use code names and they don't use their names. And here you need to know what you're doing. So if you have people who participate in the dark web, they should be really, really careful. And if you are a parent and you have a child who says, I have a dark web chat line that I'm using for a particular thing, please, they must be very, very careful. There's a lot of illegal information that takes place here, drug trafficking sites, a lot of things that happen. But you also have a lot of dark web, I don't want to call them right, but proper things such as political protests. Some of them happened on the dark web for many reasons. Hackers use the dark web a lot. These are the three layers of the internet. And one of the things that I wanted to mention about the internet is that every 10 weeks, your gadget usually does software updates. That is also considered as a calendar year, one internet year made up of the 10 calendar weeks that you know. So that internet year happens like every, let's say, 2.5 months. And hence, if you look at your phone, every 2.5 months, your phone is doing software updates. In fact, even on your many other gadgets, there's a lot of software updates that happen during this period. And during this period, what happens in a normal 1 year in our real life same thing happens in the internet here. So we don't have a lot of time for us to catch up, especially for government and policies that are taking years. And that is the reason why it is difficult to have a lot of academic programs in the internet world. Now, before you get to the fourth industrial revolution, maybe we need to go through understanding the trajectory from the first, second, the third, and the fourth, and then you can be able to tie all of these dots, because if you do not do that, you do not want to be in the same position as my deputy president the other day in Parliament when he didn't respond to this one. So on the first industrial revolution, as an example, this is in the 18th century where people started to discover the use of steam engine. One of the things that I wanted to emphasize is that in all of these industrial revolutions, between the first, the second, and the third, energy was like the thread line. And the energy started with the steam engine on the first industrial revolution and electricity on the second industrial revolution. But you will see that with the second industrial revolution, this is where powering the electricity would be your traditional fossil fuels that have been powering the power plants and those types of things. So the first industrial revolution, this is when people would be manufacturing items one by one. This is where you have craftsmanship who will manufacture one shoe or one belt, and they use particular equipment or tools, hand tools, and so forth and so on. On the second industrial revolution, because of human beings going more and more into urbanization and the mass production that was needed, electricity helped the creation of the factory lines that you see today. And those factory lines that you see today, their structures, the foundation of the structures was based on the second industrial revolution with the electricity powering that. Then they discovered that, you can actually have computers that can control these factory lines. This is the third industrial revolution, which is also, by the way, called the digital revolution that is still taking place today, by the way. There's an overlap between the third industrial revolution and the fourth industrial revolution, because in the third industrial revolution, this is where you get things such as the automation that became the order of the day, and the computers that replace human beings in managing the production lines. And that era is still in place today. I mean, the other day, people were saying they wanted to come up and protest around the banking environment. It was the banking source community late last year complaining about the fact that there's an automation taking place in the banks, and they were blaming that on the fourth industrial revolution. I wrote an article to say it's got nothing to do with the fourth industrial revolution. That was just the automation of bank operations using technology. And hence today, if you go to a bank, there's very little tellers that are available because they're forcing you to the automated environment, being the internet banking that is using the internet to automate some of the processes that the banks are using. Then the fourth industrial revolution, which has started, it actually started in the early 21st century, around 2004, 2003, with the likes of Germany that have been leading the charge on this, is the one that is now taking over. So as I said, there's an overlap between the third industrial revolution and the fourth industrial revolution. So this picture depicts that, and it shows you the different levels of the industrial revolutions and the periods of those industrial revolutions. What I then did is to analyze how human beings responded to the different industrial revolutions, again, talking about how you prepare yourself for the fourth industrial revolution. This picture talks around the food pyramid according to the industrial revolutions. It was done by a friend of mine who specializes in nutrition and healthy living. So one of the things that he portrayed in there to say is that the first and the second industrial revolution were around human beings using their hands and working hard, going out to the field and plowing and so forth and so on. In the third industrial revolution, people were still working in the factories, but those factories are dying. Those factories have been closed down. And because those factories are closed down, the need for foundation of the food, which were usually giving you the carbohydrates in the, if you see on the first industrial revolution, carbohydrates sitting at 40%, on the second industrial revolution sitting at 35%. The ideal food pyramid as we have today, he reckons that we should be having more vegetables than we should be having the bread, pasta, and that's the reason why the world today is going towards being with the obesity, because the food pyramid was never changed. Everybody continued with the food pyramid that was for the first, second, mostly, and not more about the third industrial revolution. And we're still continuing with that. And hence, if you go to communities, you get ipapa and you get rice, and then you can get little sishebo or being little protein. And whereas we're supposed to be doing it the other way around and focusing on fruits and vegetables. And I think that's the reason why having the obesity challenges today. So in the preparation for the fourth industrial revolution, that bottom layer there being the carbs are no longer the basis or the foundation of our nutrition. It's supposed to be the second layer where you do as little as possible, and hence a lot of diet programs these days, they will tell you as much as you can, do not do the carbs, and the increase to the obesity is because we're stuck with that food pyramid of the second and the first industrial revolution. The geopolitical view of the industry, fourth industrial revolution, I will move a bit faster because I'm looking at the time as well, is that it is countries like Germany that led the fourth industrial revolution. And if you really look at the people who are leading in the fourth industrial revolution will be your major German manufacturers, your BMWs, your Mercedes-Benz, and all. You can see that they had used the fourth industrial revolution policies and principles, which for them, by the way, it started with a policy that they did in 2006. And the work that they have done since then, their manufacturing sector is now leading the world around the fourth industrial revolution. China also joined in around 2015, and I think if you look at what they're doing, they're actually also leapfrogging than other countries. So the fourth industrial revolution is here. In our country, we started with the 4IR commission that was started last year, and we really hope that will also help the country to leapfrog and be able to help us to engage on the fourth industrial revolution. So unpacking the fourth industrial revolution, as I said, at the center is the digital technology as the core of the fourth industrial revolution. Then you have the 8 elements of the fourth industrial revolution that I'm going to go through, and those 8 elements can be used within particular industries and to manage the economy in a particular manner. Now, let me elaborate on the foundation as well as the 8 elements. The digital technology industry that I'm talking about, that is the foundation or the core of the fourth industrial revolution, is made up of telecommunications, IT, and broadcasting, and all of these things are linked by the internet, as I said earlier on, the internet. And that's why in all of these things, whether it's your phone, your laptop, or your TV, there's now some connectivity. If you watch your TV, it has to be connected to the internet. Your laptop has to be connected to your internet. Your phone, so everything is connected to the internet, with the internet as the glue on all of these elements. And with 5G coming, it's going to give you faster internet, because that internet is going to be the foundation of the fourth industrial revolution. So what are the 8 elements of the fourth industrial revolution? In a book that I did, and we had a chapter that we did with the chairman of the World Economic Forum, Klaus Schwab, we agreed on these as the 8 elements of the fourth industrial revolution. These are the Internet of Things, artificial intelligence, nanotechnology, cybersecurity, robotics, 3D printing, autonomous vehicles, and the cryptocurrency. I'm going to go through each and every one of them one by one to elaborate what they mean and what do they mean to you. And then this is where the preparation comes in to say, how do you prepare yourself for this? So what is the Internet of Things? The Internet of Things is a situation in which every device will be connected to the internet. What are those devices? It could be your car, your TV, your fridge, your stove, anything can be connected to the internet. And I'm going to give an example of a project we did around the IoT, which was the internet fridge, where you have a fridge that is connected to the internet, and that fridge being connected to the internet, it collects all the data. So you give that fridge all the information, the connection of the fridge onto the internet about what is inside the fridge. So, for example, the fridge will, that system will have your inventory about what milk do you have, when was that milk bought, butter, yogurt, everything that is inside. It will know what is expiring on particular days. So if you've got milk that expires on the 5th, on the 6th, if you do not take out that milk out of the fridge, your fridge will send you a message to say you are now going to be drinking Nkomazi because your milk has expired. So the Internet of Things has within it intelligence that has been built in so that your devices can be able to talk to you wherever you are. You can be able to control them. You can be able to determine what TV program you want to record. In fact, a lot of things that we're doing today are now beginning to showcase the connectivity of the Internet of Things. Of course, this comes with the security risks within it, because one of the things that the Internet of Things is going to be doing within what we call the industrial Internet of Things, in the health environment, you're going to have things such as your pacemakers that will be connected to the internet. So you can imagine if someone hacks that pacemaker, they can do an internet assassination or something like that accordingly in the industry. So if you understand that everything is going to be connected to the internet, one of the things that we say for you to start to preparing for the IoT is to understand and say, what are the major opportunities you see in your career, private life, and community that have to do with the IoT. Now, if given more time, we would have elaborated on all of them much more in detail, but I do encourage you to go online and really Google more on what is on the IoT, and I'll give you another website later on 4IR journey that we have, where you have a lot of more material about each and every one of these things. So we're saying, what are the opportunities that you see on IoT? What are the risks that you see related to your career or your life or community around IoT? As an example, today, if you're a lecturer, you are in an environment that is a university that depends on people looking at each other face to face. IoT may replace you because people will start connecting online just like we are. I was actually looking at how my kids are going to school now. Everybody's using the online platform. So the internet is going to even replace some of those expected face-to-face kind of engagements. Do you have children who are interested in the IoT? Have you had a conversation with your children around the IoT? Because the careers of the future is going to be in IoT. You're going to have IoT engineers and all of the types of titles that have to do with IoT. Also, we do believe that if you're an organization, family, or even country, you must have an action plan around the Internet of Things. The next one is the artificial intelligence. And artificial intelligence is around machine learning and machine having intelligence, and that intelligence of being able to deduce and be able to say, this is what human beings will do, or this is what human beings are supposed to do. This is where the challenge comes in when people are scared of artificial intelligence taking place, because artificial intelligence may lead to computers studying our patterns and understanding us as human beings, and even being able to say this is how human beings are supposed to be behaving. So when we misbehave, the machines can decide, they are now out of order. Let's get rid of human beings and start to run the world. And that is what singularity is all about, when people are worried when computers are going to take over from human beings. And of course, there are many schools of thoughts around how that can be prevented, around programming artificial intelligence to have some very fundamental codes that says that the machine will never harm a human being, the machine will never overrule a human being, and so forth and so on. But artificial intelligence is around computers or machine learning and machine having an intelligence of even being able to deduce and make a decision about itself. There's a lot of opportunities around this. Again, we're saying in preparing for AI in your life, understand what are the opportunities that are related to your life, career, private, and communities around AI. Do you have AI opportunities at work, at home? What are the AI opportunities that you see? The risk around AI, of course, is around services that are going to be taken over by computers that can learn, and also understanding if children understand what AI opportunities out there. Do you have children who might be interested? Do you want to help them? This is where coding comes into place, where children can be able to learn more about coding and code around AI and help the AI industry to grow, but in a responsible manner. If you're an organization, we do think that an action plan around AI is something to be done. Nanotechnology is one of my favorite topics within the 4IR, because nanotechnology is around looking at matter at a small scale that we call it a nanometer level that you cannot even see with a microscope. And at a nanometer level, this is where you can have manipulation of matter that can do all sorts of things. Now, nanotechnology is a very complex sector, because it combines various, shall I say, faculties. It combine biotech, chemistry, technology, engineering, all sorts of different sectors are combined within nanotechnology. Now, they will tell you that within nanotechnology, you'll be able to replace the medicine that we're using, in that you can have little robots that can go inside the body and go and fix part of the body and come out after doing that, or be programmed to do something else accordingly as being instructed, because it will be little robot that can receive instructions or nanites, or that can be put in human beings. Now, one of the things that I'm looking for around nanotechnology is around things such as water purification, opportunities around nanotechnology, and having a device or clothing, protective clothing that is resistant to fire, as an example, a fireman's protective, personal protective equipment that is resistant to fire, so that they can go into any fire and extinguish that fire without getting burned themselves. Again, within nanotechnology, there are opportunities that are there in nanotechnology. I do believe that people need to start to look into it and say, is this a field that you want to look into? Are there any risks that you see that are going to be attacking your own career, your own business around nanotechnology? And if you talk to your children around nanotechnology, it will be interesting. My son the other day, after explaining to him what nanotechnology is, he says, so Baba, we can actually have a house that we can program doors that can change into walls when we want them to change into walls. And when you want it to be a door, you may press a button so that that wall can go back to being a door. So you can start to get kids to start thinking about what nanotechnology is. Again, like I said, there's an action plan that is needed on nanotechnology, be it at the personal level or business or government level. Next one is 3D printing. 3D printing is nothing other than a printer that is injecting a material to print objects. So a 3D printer can print shoes, it can 3D print toys, it can 3D print all sorts of things. In fact, there are a lot of car manufacturers in this country who do not import parts anymore. They've got 3D printers in this country, where those 3D printers are printing parts for those cars and those parts are the parts that we used to import from Germany, and are printing them locally. There's also 3D printers that they are envisaging that are going to come for 3D printing for food. And by the way, some of those 3D printers will also have health issues that we'll have to take into consideration. If you're a Star Trek person, you will know what is called replicators in there accordingly. Now, one of the challenges around the 3D printers is that some of the material on the 3D printing environment are not metallic, so you cannot detect them. So you can actually 3D print a gun with bullets that can kill, but that gun will not be detected by a metal detector. In the US, as an example, they've outlawed the specifications of a gun manufacturing 3D printing process, so people cannot post them online. We still need to have legislation in our country to legislate such things. So 3D printing, which is also called additive manufacturing, is already here, and you can buy a 3D printer. I know Incredible Connection used to sell them. I think they've discontinued them because they couldn't find materials, but I'm sure that they will be coming back. There are many people who are selling them in this country as well, and I've seen a lot of applications of them. Okay, what are the opportunities on 3D printing that you see related to your career, private life, community, and what are the risks that are associated with 3D printing? Are you in an industry that can be replaced by 3D printing? If you talk to your children about it, what ideas do they have that can be 3D printed, especially with the shortage of products in certain environment, or requiring customized products in certain environment? This becomes an opportunity. Also, of course, as I said, in every one of them, there must be an action plan on these sectors per company, mostly. If as a family, you have an action plan on each and every one of them, while you are already a 4IR family, so to speak. Next one is autonomous vehicles, and autonomous vehicles will be vehicles on land and the vehicles that can fly on air. These are the vehicles that can drive themselves, and they can drive themselves because they are programmed to be told where to go to, or they can drive themselves because they are being remotely controlled to be told where to go to. So you can get this in cars that we drive in future. I know in the US and in Europe, there's a number of places where they're already piloting the autonomous vehicles by having a lane that is dedicated to autonomous vehicles. Imagine on the N1 here, you'll have a lane that is for autonomous vehicles. Of course, the challenges to that is that if you have an accident with this vehicle, who is responsible and who's taking the liability for that? And of course, also, what type of laws are you going to have around the responsibility for the vehicles accordingly? Of course, within the autonomous vehicles, what we see today are the drones. The drones are becoming a huge industry in our country. I think we have something like 80,000 drones, with only around less than 20,000 of them that are considered to be legal, with the rest considered to be illegal or operating in an unregulated space. These are going to be a huge opportunity for our kids, because you're going to have drone pilots that are going to pilot these drones. And by the way, the license foundation for you to get a drone pilot license and the license for you to have a pilot, proper pilot of flying an aeroplane or a helicopter, some of those licenses are exactly the same. We're working with the youth right now to build some drone pilots, and it's a very, very exciting environment accordingly. Of course, here, in terms of the preparation for you, we do say you need to understand what are the opportunities that you see related to your career, private life on the autonomous vehicles. Do you see them, changing how your industry is going to be operated? And what are the risks that you see around the autonomous vehicles? If you're in the delivery industry, as an example, please understand that in future, autonomous vehicles are going to be taking over to deliver food or whatever it is. I know in some parts of the African continent, medicine is delivered using drones instead of people driving through those communities. Children who are interested in autonomous vehicles, I think this is going to be one of the biggest industries moving forward, where you're going to have drone pilots. And because children are playing a lot of the games, your PS4 and so forth, they are more, the propensity for them to use the autonomous vehicle controls are much better. So if you do have kids who are interested, please do encourage them. This one's going to be one of the most lucrative opportunities in the future. Of course, it talks to the action plan, be it at the home level, organization, and I do know that government has an action plan around things such as autonomous vehicles as an industry. Robotics. This is going to be a huge industry that is already started within the third industrial revolution. This is where you can get robots that can replace human beings, or you can get robots, robot arm, or a robotic manufacturing plant, or many things. In fact, there is a thinking that even maids will be replaced by robots in future. And there are people in this country who are already buying sex dolls that are robots at home. And so you can see that robotics is just going to be a big industry. Now, robotics is also around the programming of the robots, on what is it that it should do, and how it should measure, and all those types of things. You also find them in the defense industry, in the military environment, where robots are also being trained to shoot, and all those types of things. So we're heading to a very, very interesting space within this industry of robotics. Again, there are opportunities around robotics, and if you do have children, I really encourage you. And by the way, if you go to incredible places like Incredible Connection and the others, there are many others, by the way, I'm sorry to be mentioning this, is because I think it's one that is available for the public. You will find that they're selling a little robots that you can buy for your child to go and practice how to program robots, because robotics is going to be the careers of the future, especially for children. You need to understand the risk around robotics as well. If you are working in a manufacturing environment, by the way, you should know that robotics is, if they haven't started impacting your industry, they're definitely going to start impacting your industry very seriously. action plan on robotics is also suggested there. Number 7 is what we call cryptocurrency. With cryptocurrency, I need to maybe give a very basic definition of cryptocurrency, because if you understand what cryptocurrency is, it becomes easier for you to deal with it. Cryptocurrency is nothing but a commodity. It is a computer code that one develops, and that computer code is put within a system, and people buy or sell that computer code according to the demand, and the value of that computer code goes either high or down according to the demand. The Bitcoin, as an example, today, as we have it, it is going high because there's a huge demand on a Bitcoin because of what's happening in the world, and they're actually calling it gold 2.0, and they're saying the Bitcoin is going to replace gold because on the demand. So Bitcoin is a commodity. The interesting thing about cryptocurrency is that a lot of cryptocurrency platforms, in fact, if not all, are excluding central banks. So if you buy Bitcoin in this country, the Reserve Bank is not involved. It is an unregulated environment. So government and laws of the world are not impacting the cryptocurrency, and a lot of governments are catching up, coming up with regulations to regulate cryptocurrency. And it was done in a way to, I don't want to say defy, but to create a parallel currency movement. The challenge with that is that if anything happens to your cryptocurrencies and you get hacked or anything, you will not have any recourse because of the fact that it is not regulated by government. Again, as I said, within cryptocurrency, there are opportunities. The last one is cybersecurity. So it talks to you knowing how you are safe online, and that is around the technology you use and your behavior. Just like your security, physical security. Your physical security is around the burglar doors you have, the alarms you have, and so forth. But it also talks to your behavior on how safe you are by what you do. And today, human beings are the biggest threat around cybersecurity because, especially in this country, we like free things. Those free things, they come with risk. Anything that you put in that is for free, by the way, you're doing a huge risk to yourself. And the world is in a war, is in a cyber war. If you look at this slide is going to show you the map of the world. And as it is loading right now, it is going to load to show you the attacks, the cyber attacks that are taking place today in the world. And these cyber attacks that you're going to see are not a simulation. These are the real cyber attacks. Now, South Africans are involved in the cyber war, and some are involved knowingly, most South Africans are involved unknowingly because they are not aware that their devices are used in the cyber war, because a lot of their devices are what we call zombie devices. What is a zombie device? Is a device that has been hacked and is being used to do things. So some of you have got phones that are spending a lot of data, and you're losing data or batteries and so forth. You don't understand. It's because your device could be hacked, and your device could be used by cyber criminals to be committing a cyber crime somewhere. And when you look into that cyber war slide, you will see the attacks, and some of those attacks are coming from the zombie devices. In fact, they say the world today needs about 21 million cybersecurity professionals to solve the global challenges in the cyber industry. South Africa is losing far more than that 5.8. This was an amount around 2017, 2018, and I think now the amount is much higher. And because cybercrime is a crime of shame, a lot of people do not tell you when they've become victims of cybercrime because you would laugh at them. In fact, the world is said to be losing now more than $2 trillion on cyber security. Now, cybersecurity and cybercrime are two sides of the same coin. The same skill that people can use to be cybersecurity is the same skill that people can use for criminal activity. So on the other side of the same skill, people can use the skills to prevent cyber harm and protect society or ethics or personal gain within the law. The same skills can be used for criminal activity, personal gains against the public interest, and no ethics. Somewhere in the middle are what we call hacktivists, who've got those skills, who are using the skills to protest, the skills to make a political statement accordingly, and so to speak. Again, the opportunities within cybersecurity, where we talk about people wanting to get into cybersecurity and maybe also having your children to be involved in cybersecurity. Just to give you a sense, we've proposed these 12 steps for you to be able to be safe online. The first one, you need to know your technology at home. You must perform a technology audit. Second one, you must know how to manage your passwords. The third one, you must have a secure email service. And when I say a secure email service, the one that you will pay for, not the one that you'll get for free. Anything that you get for free online, you should know there's a catch. If you do not know why you're getting it for free and you're using it for free, you are living a very dangerous life. The fourth one, you must have a proper antivirus software. Again, not a free one. They said there's about 230, 40 antivirus software. Only 12 or 15 of them are antivirus software. The rest are actually bordering on the viruses themselves. Software updates. Your device are always asking for software updates. You must carry out those software updates. Privacy settings and information security is a big issue these days. As we're having this call right now, the privacy settings on devices are one of the easiest hackable environment where people can have access to your devices. And how you manage your information security at home is also a big issue. Parental controls. Many parents, by the way, have been controlled by their children on technology, where children understand technology more than the parents. So it's actually the dog, the tail wagging the dog at home, because the children are the ones who are making technology decisions. You must have safe and proper online behavior and social media behavior. In fact, when I ask you how many friends you have in life, not many of you will talk about more than 200 friends. But if I ask you how many you have on Facebook, the 5,000, 6,000, do you know these people? Are they real people on the other side of the device or not? You don't know them. Cyber health talks to the position or the usage of technology at home, and where you put that technology, how you use the technology, and how often is that technology being used? Are you avoiding technology addiction and those types of things? Because remember, when you grow up, it was going to play outside. For the kids, it's using the technology more than anything. Number 11, understanding the 4IR. Number 12 is preparing your family for the 4IR. If you go to this site on safecyberlife.com, you'll be able to get the help on implementing these 12 steps. Of course, it will cost. It's not going to be for free. So then we have 2 bonus steps that we also have is around the online payments and transactions, and also understanding the cybersecurity laws. This one is given for premium subscribers of Safe Cyber Life. If I can continue, I'm going to just drive quickly on the life aspects that are affected by the 4IR around people, product, process, and the pouch. Every individual you know of today is going to be affected by the 4IR, in that there's going to be the employee of the past and the employee of the future, where the employee of the past has got a particular behavior and the employee of the future has got a particular behavior, which ranges from how do you work at home, or how do you work wherever you are. The employee of the future can work everywhere that they are, anywhere that they are. So as well as compared to an employee of the past who has to go to the office. In fact, COVID-19 right now is showing us what the employees of the future are supposed to be. In terms of the careers, the traditional careers we know of, doctors, accountants, and all of those, their relevance, applicability is going down a little bit. We're now getting in the transitional space where you have some very interesting careers that have come up, your social media experts, graphic designers, a lot of these ones that I knew. The future ones are going to be nanotechnologies, robotics engineers. Within each and every one of those 8 elements, you're going to find some very interesting careers, and this is where your children are going to take up those careers accordingly in there. So people have to be empowered to understand the 4IR. And 4IR, I always say this, there's no expert in 4IR. I'm speaking about 4IR like this because I am an enthusiast on 4IR, but there's no expert. The space is just too wide, too big for them, for people to have experts in 4IR. So engage on 4IR. Please do not think of it as only for the technical people. Convert your passive participation to active participation, especially for families, and understand that people have to live safe online accordingly, and hence we are always encouraging people to on the Safe Cyber Life. I've talked about these steps earlier on. And in terms of products, products are going to change, and products are going to be affected, and products are going to be replaced accordingly. And on processes, it's also going to be the same. Your decision-making processes are going to change, especially around timelines. You're going to have to move faster in terms of decision-making processes. You have to get rid of processes that are no longer relevant. And unlearning is going to be the major challenge, especially for organizations, because unlearning has to happen right now, where you have to get rid of the old education. Money is going to be affected by cryptocurrency, and when cryptocurrency becomes stronger, the banks, in fact, I know the Reserve Bank in this country is already looking at how cryptocurrency can be engaged accordingly. So your pouch has to be adapted to 4IR. I've used the 4P of Alan and Norton in the finance scorecard on the 4IR. One of the things I wanted to say around the 4IR is that there are no rules in the 4IR, and technology will determine the environment, and legislators right now, as we speak, are following rather than leading in the 4IR. I think I am coming to the end to say, when you prepare about 4IR, please learn. Prevention is better than cure. Prepare your families and understand that 4IR is going to affect your home, workplace, and communities. Live safe online and understand the foundation of the 4IR being the internet. Nothing is for free, and whether you like it or you don't, all the things that you've got for free online, there's the catch for them. If that catch is not eating you, one of these days it will eat you. Obstacles to 4IR: lack of proper education on technology, where some people are suffering from technophobia. Is only for the IT people, or if you're born before technology, you look at it, it's not for me, it's for the new ones, the younger ones. No, it's not, it's for you as well. Perceptions of arrogant IT people. I know that IT people have got high IQ and low EQ. They can't talk to people, and they always speak to people down sadly, but that's a challenge that we have, and passing the back to IT people. And if you think that this is going to pass, no, it won't. And the ostrich mentality is not going to work. So ignorance is not advised here. Ladies and gentlemen, I thank you.
Wow, oh my God, that was just so fantastic, so informative and insightful. Thank you so much for that, Linda. I've learned so much, so many things that I really had no clue and no idea of. And I think I have a couple of questions for you, though, that I would like us to sort of explore as far as COVID-19 and lockdown that has been also been imposed on us as the country, as the people, and society at large. What are the advantages then of 4IR in this season, especially as far as the lockdown? And I think that's one of the things that we wanted to talk about, as to what are the advantages, what are the things that we can be able to do to take advantage of 4IR during the COVID-19 lockdown?
I think during the lockdown, one of the things that I think we have as an opportunity is we now have an opportunity of appreciating what this 4IR means to us in life. The fact that we're talking to each other using Zoom, it now says, what are the pros and cons as a country for us to understand what it will mean to have remote working? Now, remote working using technology means that we now have to start to look at, do we have the right network for us to be communicating? I mean, earlier today, we were trying to communicate and we're having network issues. Do we have the right networks? And what we must do to build those networks? Are we using the right software? I mean, Zoom was bombed in Parliament last government. Were having I think Meta Mudiso was even insulted using that Zoom bomb, where people can come into your Zoom infrastructure and say a lot of things because of the fact that to connect into Zoom. Now, is Zoom the safest? Do you have Skype? We've got others. So I think we've got an opportunity as a country to understand what this thing means. More importantly, I do think that people now need to start to have a handle on how to safely participate in this fourth industrial revolution. This is where cybersecurity is a big issue. We're doing a major campaign with UNISA now, where we're talking to all the students and everyone to say, how do you empower yourself to be safe online? And we think that this is the time we need to appreciate that. Our kids are online, everybody. So it is an opportunity for us to understand the use of technology. And in my view, the whole COVID-19 is actually a correction of economical systems within the whole world. Is that the world is no longer going to be the same. The world is going to be different. So if you do not take advantage of this opportunity of learning about what are these 4IR elements of preparing, by the time you wake up after the lockdown, you're going to see new things that are now going to be the norm. The tracking of your phone, the tracing of your phone is going to happen automatically, because they're now going to have your data of whether you are sick or not sick, what things that were not thought of before COVID-19. After COVID-19, they're going to be the norm, because they've sort of conditioned us to accept that this thing is going to happen.
Okay. So in actual sense, what you're basically saying is that we've always had 4IR coming, and we've always been talking about it, saying that we have 4IR in the pipeline, is coming and all of that. But it has been imposed on us now due to the COVID-19. And I think I'm sitting here and I'm thinking also, because I'm not a millennial and nor am I a Generation Z. And I know that those are the people that are on the forefront in understanding of these things. But I think this has given us also, like you say, an opportunity for us to be able to use these tools and employ them into our own spaces and to find the advantages of being able to use them. But we also have another spectrum and other people that we seem to be leaving behind. Like you said, quite frankly earlier on, that one of the key things, or one of the things that are more critical as far as 4IR is concerned, it is the access to having the network. Do you have any idea how we can be able to curb those problems to ensure that we are able to move forward together as a nation? Because there's people that we are seem to be leaving behind purely by the virtue of them not having access to the network.
You know, I had a huge debate the other day around our infrastructure utilization. So we're going to talk about one element of the digital technology, the foundation of the 4IR being telecommunications. In many homes today, if you go to homes, you'll find that homes have got a telecom plug that is there, dormant, not being used. If you talk to someone, if you go to Europe, US, and so forth, you find that their primary form of communications is still the fixed line, cable, and then mobile telephony is the secondary form of communications.
Okay.
We have this infrastructure in South Africa. So telecom is an example. I still do believe that telecom is one of the underutilized national assets in the country, because they've got a huge infrastructure that is sitting throughout the whole country. And by the way, it also goes into those rural communities, because I know you want to talk about the rural communities. In rural communities, there are no signals and those types of things and so forth. I do believe that if we empower the youth and the communities and give them access to roll out these technologies, those are the people who are going to take us to the next level. And unfortunately, today we're having a situation in which we're talking about the concentration of powers. Powers are being concentrated into particular service providers rather than to distribute them to get communities to be the ones who are rolling out those networks, so that you do not centralize the economy in few hands. And you can also decentralize the technology understanding. And hence, if you listen to my presentation that I made today, it's a technical presentation, but it was presented in a non-technical manner such that you can understand. And the idea is to make sure that we demystify this technology world so that our young ones, our children, can be the ones who are going to take over and run this industry. Because, by the way, it's not rocket science. Even rocket science, as we say in Zulu, a cricket that is going up to the sky. Simple as that.
True.
So I do believe that nothing is that complicated. We need to demystify this. We need to have more of our young people fixing cell phones, installing DSTV. If we can have that in our communities, our young people are the ones who are going to come up with ideas on how to improve connectivity. But we think that we're the ones, the older ones and the elders are the ones who are going to give them solutions. No, we should give them the power. So let's not give them the fish. Let's show them how to fish. They will show us how the fishing is going to be done for the future. I do think that we're really neglecting our youth.
Okay, thank you so much, Mtunga. I think I wanted to check also if we have any questions from the audience itself. I'm trying to check on the chat now. There isn't. Okay. There is a question that is from Milford Muloto. Milford wants to know: is there IoT also part? Is there IoT also part of smart construction? For example, BIM, building information modeling, ICE machine. Could it be there example of 3D printing machine? What is your view on Luno on cryptocurrency? Last, is it safe to use Gmail or Webmail?
Okay, I'm going to start with the Gmail or Webmail. And I'm going to advise you to go online and type the safest internet email service and what are the top 7 safest internet email services. Gmail doesn't feature. Even Gmail themselves, they know they don't. Yes, I know. It's a sad thing. And by the way, today, when you send an email from your Gmail to many companies, a lot of people know that your emails does not go through. It gets kicked out. Why? Is because some networks, by the way, look at Gmail as a high-risk email service, so they do not allow it. Okay, like I said, people like things for free. Because it is for free, you're using it. You need to get a service that you will pay for. A service so that when something goes wrong with it, you will know where to go to. So I do advise people to have a proper email service. By the way, I do have a Gmail account, but I use the Gmail account for my social media, things that are not that core to my life. And if you're using Gmail, you're putting your internet banking in there, all of those things. I'm not going to say much. Can I pass and move to the second one? The second one was what? Remind me? Cryptocurrency.
The second one, yeah, cryptocurrency, Luno. I think he wanted to know about Luno.
So Luno, I understand, is one of the cryptocurrencies. So as I said, it's the different service providers who are doing cryptocurrency services. As I showed you, in fact, in that slide when I covered the cryptocurrency, I showed you the different ones. There are many ones that are out there. It's up to you when you look at them. This is the slide where you have Bitcoin, Litecoin, and many others. As I understand, Luno is one of those that are there out there. So it's is it the better one than the other one? I think they're also talking amongst themselves on how they're going to begin to have benefits such that you can convert maybe a peer coin to Bitcoin and all those types of things. But there are more creation of more and more. What I showed you is just a tip of an iceberg. There's a lot of cryptocurrency platforms that are out there. Again, that is why, because of the fact that they're not regulated by countries, it's easy. I can start one tomorrow. I can have a Linda coin, a Bitcoin, or cryptocurrency coin. Anybody can start to do them. The first one, first question around the IoT, around the building industry, smart building, and those types of things. So in any project today, you will find a combination of one of the 8 elements of the 4IR that I mentioned. So you might find within a project, there's an Internet of Things aspect in there. There's also artificial intelligence aspect in there. There's also the maybe 3D printing in there. So there's various, and hence I broke down all of the elements one by one so that you can understand. It's just like in life, a building. When you see a building is being built by using different technologies. There's involvement of electricity, involvement of construction. So there's a lot of elements that get involved in it. So that applies as well, even in what my brother was asking. What I can respond also is to say the speed of using these technologies is just moving too fast, and the integration is moving too fast because a lot of them are just linked to the internet.
Okay, thank you so much, Linda. There's quite a couple of questions that we've had them, but because we've run out of time, I see now we've gone over the hour that we have been allocated.
Not a problem, does it? We can continue.
Able to go. Okay, there's 2 more questions. I think the one that is more critical for me, I was quite worried because of the time. One from Spiwe Mashia. He says the changes in the education system and the effect of content to be taught to our future generation is kept content enough to prepare our kids for 4IR. And another one from Shalane Roy. It says you focused on the younger generation skills upliftment, but what a manager to do to bring all the generation into 4IR? What skills and knowledge will be needed? So if you can be able to tackle both those questions for me.
Please remind me the first one.
The first one, it was CAPS. Is it enough to train our children to prepare them for 4IR?
Okay, so I'm going to answer this differently. The leaders in 4IR, I call them Abomasham Plan, are university dropouts.
Okay.
The leaders in 4IR are a lot of them. Mark Zuckerberg was a university dropout. Bill Gates was a university dropout. The guy who started Oracle. So you see that the education that we have today, in fact, if you go to university, how many people have gone through to university and they come up with degrees that are irrelevant? And unfortunately, the very same people who are now also specifying what our children are supposed to learn to prepare for the future is because, I'm sorry, I call it the closed-mindedness, because if I do not know, I am not going to talk about something that I do not know. And this is what 4IR is about. So 4IR is new. And because 4IR is new and 4IR does not have experts in it, 4IR does not have, and everyone is learning in 4IR. And because of that, the people who are giving our children education at school, a lot of them, unfortunately, are used to a particular pedagogical system. If something is out of the ordinary, they discard it. And hence today, you cannot have a lot of these courses at universities because they can't even handle them because of how fast they are moving. So is it enough to teach our children CAT? I will say your children are going to have, in my view, I would say 50% of my children's education is coming from school. 50% is my responsibility. So I engage them on this technology.
Wow.
I engage them on all of these things. And I think your children, you are supposed to learn with your children and learn your old engineering and learn your own not biblical studies, and learn your own things that you learned at school to learn the new things that you must learn for the future. So the education of your children is supposed to be your own education yourself, where you're supposed to be part of that education. Learn with them. And I mean, when you buy new technology at home, work with them and understand, what is this technology going to do? Where can we integrate this technology to something else? What is going to be the future of this technology? Okay, that's the type of a thing that you should learn with your children and make sure that you engage with them accordingly. I hope I've answered the first one. The second one was about what? Please remind me.
It was a younger generation skills upliftment, but what is the manager to do to bring the older generation into 4IR? How do we bridge the gap between the generations? And it is my understanding that in the workplace half the time, and I think the studies have shown that in this year we were going to have 5 generations that are in the marketplace. That would be your millennials, your Generation Z, your baby boomers, your Generation X, and all of them were going to be in one place. I think the question now is to say, how do we integrate? How do we bring the baby boomers and the Generation X also to be able to partake and be part of this 4IR and moving? And all of us moving forward together. And I think some of the things that I found quite interesting, it was when I realized that we often complain about how Generation Z and the millennials are actually working. And this is a very critical question, I think, for me also to say, how do we bridge that gap where we are able to coexist as the different generations?
I think the older people, and I'll put myself in that category, because as much as I may look different, I'm 50 years old. The older we are, we need to unlearn. The most challenging thing we're going to suffer in the world today is unlearning the unnecessary information that is not needed for the future. We hold on to the old information that is not needed. And by the way, some of that information, whilst part of it is needed, it needs to be infused with the new information to move forward. In our world today, we find that the older generation are scared of the new technology. And instead of coming back and saying, I do not know how this thing works, they will go, hey, leave us alone with that technology. You young people want to complicate our life with the new technology. Older people have suffered from technophobia. And one of the reasons why older people have suffered from technophobia, I mentioned it earlier on, IT people are not the friendliest people in the world. IT people can speak, they speak Greek and the rest of the world speak Chinese. And because of that, the IT people have also made it worse. And I think that everyone else needs now to come back and say, this technology is what I need. I mean, you spend most of your working life today on technology. With this COVID-19, 90% of your time is in front of a screen, talking to people on the screen. So your technology is now part of your life. So you might as well get to know this device. But guess what? A lot of people, because are suffering from technophobia, as little as I can know about this device, I want to do that. I just want to use it for one. And you do not understand, by not understanding the other aspect of this device and closing your mind, you cannot enjoy it more, and you probably are losing a lot more opportunities of understanding how this thing works. So I do believe that the older generation has to also understand that they must learn from the younger generation. And I think this is where the relationship between the older and the younger generation have to be managed. And in our society, sometimes when the older generation is holding on to the old traditions, the old way of doing it, and the younger generation, you don't know what you're doing. They lose an opportunity of having a bridge of saying, how do we take the old learnings into the new environment? And hence I'm saying it starts at home. If you at home, you're not having your conversation with your children, you're not going to be able to have a very meaningful conversation with a junior tech person in the company who happens to have some better ideas that can make the company to be better than what it is. So it starts with an attitude. If the attitude does not change, unfortunately, we're not going to have progress.
Wow. Thank you so much. Thank you so much for all those answers. I think for me, I have so many takeaways from today's session as far as 4IR is concerned. I think I am very appreciative, Mtongwa, that you made it so relatable, and I found so much resonance around it. I was just also baffled at the fact that food and industrial 4IR, industrial revolution, I've never drawn the parallels before, but you were able to bring that to our space and make us understand as to what is it that is what is key. You know, when you spoke about the Internet of Things, nanotechnology, 3D, autonomous vehicles, robotics, and all of that. Thank you. We really, really, really do appreciate your time. We don't take it for granted. Thank you so much for all the lessons, and as well as putting together such a comprehensive presentation. And over to you, Althea.
Okay. I don't know what to say. Thank you very much, Linda. I've never enjoyed a 4IR presentation like I did today.